Hello. My name is Pluto. I'm an 18-year-old male. Today I want to talk to you about dissociation. I will be including medical research about dissociation, but this is mostly my experience with it and how I've adjusted to live with it. This is in no way a medical diagnosis. If you exhibit symptoms of dissociation and think you might have it, please talk to a medical professional. Now, what is dissociation? Dissociation is the occurrence when you become temporarily detached and desensitized to your surroundings. Dissociation is the fancy term for zoning out. It's when your mind becomes disconnected from your body. Dissociating can often be confused with daydreaming. While they are very similar, they are not the same. According to Wikipedia, daydreaming is the stream of consciousness that detaches from current, external tasks when attention drifts to a more personal and internal direction. Now, according to a quote by Lauren Cook, an author and therapist based in San Diego, dissociation is when one feels physically removed from their body or the place they are in. Daydreaming is when your thoughts get off track. Dissociation is more of losing touch with reality. What causes dissociation? The short answer is stress. People who've experienced a traumatic event will often dissociate during or after the event. The brain is withdrawing from the event to avoid further stress, which is why details of the events become blurred or indistinct, and it can be hard for the individual to recall it in full. As you may have guessed, the more stress you've experienced, the more you may experience dissociation. People who have been diagnosed with a dissociative disorder experience dissociation frequently, and to a much higher degree than average. They are prone to dissociative episodes, which is when dissociation is happening almost non-stop. Now, for people with a dissociative disorder, it's much more involved when it comes to dissociation. Dissociative disorders are a form of complex post-traumatic stress disorder, or CPTSD. In the most shortest way I can put it, CPTSD is repeated trauma. Dissociative disorders occur when an individual experiences repeated trauma between the ages of 3 and 9. This can be war, medical trauma, abuse, rape, or other. Dissociation is the only way the child's brain can fight back. They can mentally leave the situation they are in. Forgetting becomes a defense mechanism, and if it's not stopped or put in check, it continues into adulthood. The brain uses the learned behavior of dissociating and applies it to every aspect of life, which is why these individuals may seem forgetful or out of it. Long story short, people with dissociative disorders have developed it as a way of coping. Dissociative disorders include general dissociation, depersonalization, derealization, and the more commonly known dissociative identity disorder. If you want to learn more about the other topics, you can do your own research, but for today I'm going to be focusing more on generalized dissociative disorder. Having dissociative disorders makes one prone to dissociative amnesia. As classified by my.clevelandclinic.org, dissociative amnesia affects major parts of a person's life and/or identity, such as being unable to recognize your name, job, family and friends. This has happened to me. After dissociating for long periods of time, I'll look at my family or friends, and it'll take me a second to recognize who I'm looking at. This is not to say that people who don't have dissociative disorders don't experience dissociative amnesia. Everyone does. Have you ever been driving, and suddenly you're at your destination? Or, you were reading a book and suddenly reached the end of the page and realized you weren't actually reading? That's dissociative amnesia. It's your body going on autopilot, while your mind is drifting off. It's a natural occurrence, just more frequent with those who have a dissociative disorder. Now, this is where I'll start divulging about my experience with it, and where it comes from, which as I said comes from trauma. So, here is your disclaimer. From the ages of 2 to 4, I practically lived at the hospital. I got a UTI, which caused me to get a lot of fevers. There was a very small chance of me surviving, but I did. From that point on, I was emotionally and mentally in my household. So, I think it's safe to say I have some issues due to this, I developed a dissociative disorder, among other things. Living with it can certainly be a challenge. If I get stressed or overwhelmed, I tend to start feeling very small, which turns into feeling like I'm a ghost, or not really there. Dissociating is different for everyone. For me, I feel trapped. In some cases, I'm aware I'm dissociating, and I can't shake myself out of it, and I'm hoping somebody else will. In other cases, I lose all consciousness, and I'm prone to going on autopilot or just sitting there doing nothing. When I come out of it, I feel tired and drowsy, which increases the likelihood of it happening again. While I'm dissociating, it kinda looks like I'm looking through a kaleidoscope. It's a blur of colors, and sounds tend to meld together and become incomprehensible. If I can't shake myself out of it, I could be there for an hour just lost in my own mind. Now, that's not to say I'm stuck forever. Sometimes, dissociation ends on its own. Sometimes it doesn't. The way to prevent dissociation is stimulation. Stimulating your 5 senses helps keep your brain in the moment, and prevents it from withdrawing from reality. When I'm aware I'm dissociating, I'll feel around for stuff with unique textures to stimulate my touch sense, or play music to stimulate my hearing. I wear headphones nearly all the time to ensure I have a way to bring myself back from dissociation if I need to. As for how I've adjusted to live with it, there are many things I've tweaked in my life to help me be productive and keep moving. For one, I have a lot of frickin' reminders. Because I forget things very often, I'll make a reminder of it almost instantly, so that I can be reminded of it later. Like putting away clothes when I get home, making a phone call, making food, sending an email, and other things. I also leave myself visual reminders, like sticky notes, to remind me to do something in case I haven't done it yet. Now, how do you tell if someone's dissociating? While it might be hard to tell, especially when their body's on autopilot, here are a few visual signs to look out for to tell if someone's dissociating: being still while having their eyes open, repeating a certain motion over and over, eyes glazed over, odd blinking pattern, eyes darting around, movements slower than normal, not responding to sounds or their name, jolting or twitching, and not acknowledging people or sounds. What do you do when someone is spacing out? You wave your hand in front of their eyes or call their name. You're stimulating their senses. You would do the same for someone who's dissociating. If that doesn't work, you can use another method, like waving something fragrant under their nose, snapping by their ears, running their hands over something with a unique texture, or gently shaking them. It's best not to scare them out of dissociation. It's essentially the same as startling someone awake. They'll be scared and confused. While dissociative disorders are not curable, you can learn to live with them and adjust your lifestyle to be the best you can be even while having one. I hope you found this helpful. I'm sorry if this was a bit morbid, but in order to understand something, you have to learn about its origin. Coming to terms with what happened to me was hard, but it's helped me in understanding myself better, so I can be the best version of myself I can be. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.